equals the sun was setting over Silver Creek, casting a warm, golden glow that danced between the leaves of the old oak tree in my backyard. I had always loved that tree, its sturdy trunk and sprawling branches symbolizing comfort and familiarity. Yet today, as I squinted at its silhouette against the vivid sunset, a sense of unease tugged at my mind. It felt like it was quietly witnessing the storm brewing inside me, a storm that was years in the making. "Hey, Luna, you ready to go?" My best friend Mia called from the front porch, her voice breaking through my turbulent thoughts. I turned to see her bouncing on the balls of her feet, her long, wavy brown hair catching the fading light. She wore a bright yellow sundress, the kind that twirled beautifully when she moved, contrasting sharply with my black tank top and jeans. I always felt more like a shadow beside her, invisible despite standing right next to her. "Yeah, just a second." I shouted back and quickly brushed the leaves off my skirt. I still felt that strange pull in my chest, a mixture of bitterness and excitement. Mia was always so full of energy, a spark that often ignited my own dull existence. But tonight, I wasn't just going to the county fair for cotton candy and carnival rides. I had a plan, one that had taken more than 6 months to slowly build up in my mind. Mia bounded up the porch steps and took my arm. She was bubbling over with enthusiasm as she always was before an event. "I cannot believe it is finally here, the Silver Creek Fair. You know what, we have to go straight for the Ferris wheel first." "Of course," I replied half-heartedly, feeling the weight of my secret simmering beneath. I mean, what's a fair without a ride in the sky, right? As we walked down the familiar streets of Silver Creek, the intoxicating scent of popcorn and candied apples filled the air, mixed with the sound of laughter and distant screams from the carnival rides. The fairground lights twinkled like stars against the darkening blue sky, casting a festive glow that danced upon our skin. I watched the faces around me, families making memories, friends finding joy, couples in love, while I thought of something entirely different. I felt like an outsider looking in, trapped in my own thoughts. Back home, I had spent hours planning, strategizing. The evening I had waited for was finally here, and I could almost taste the sweet victory in the air. "You are way too quiet," Mia teased, pinching my side, pulling me out of my spiral of thoughts. "Are you sure you're feeling okay? You have that mysterious vibe going on." I chuckled weakly. "Yeah, I'm fine, just thinking." Mia stopped in her tracks, cocked her head, and studied me closely, her eyes narrowing with concern. "Thinking or plotting? Seriously, Mia, I'm just excited about the fair." I forced my smile wide, but inside my heart raced every time I thought about the revenge that waited for me at the fair. The fairgrounds were vibrant, filled with colorful tents and laughter echoing off the distant rides. The soft thump of music surrounded us as we arrived, drowning out the creeping anxiety brewing within my rib cage. Everything felt alive, even the air seemed to buzz with an unshakable energy. Mia practically dragged me toward the Ferris wheel, her excitement contagious. "Look at how big it is," she exclaimed, pointing with a wide smile. "We need to get the best view." I nodded, trying to focus on her enthusiasm, feeling a flicker of joy break through my steely plans. But the moment faded as I caught sight of him. Mark Davidson, the guy who had brought my world crashing down, not that he knew it. He was with some friends, laughing loudly, his beautiful grin lighting up the dusky air. It was ridiculous how much I had once liked him, how much I had wanted to be close to him. But his betrayal had cut deeper than I could have imagined, and that light-hearted laughter made my blood boil. "Luna, are you listening?" Mia's voice broke through my rigid focus as I tightened my grip on her arm, struggling not to glare at them. "Sorry, just lost in thought." I secretly cursed myself for the emotion lacing my words. I could not afford to be weak or vulnerable. Mia looked back at Mark and his friends. "We should go say hi. I mean, it's been like an eternity since we hung out with them, right?" "No way," I snapped, the words coming out harsher than I intended. "I am not interested in saying hi to him." Mia raised an eyebrow, her tone shifting to curiosity. "Why not? You guys were super close before everything happened. You were like best friends." My heart felt like it had been plunged into ice water, painful memories flaring to life. "Best friends who turned their backs on me the moment I needed them the most," I spat, trying to keep my voice steady, but I felt every ounce of hurt crawl back to the surface. "I don't care to reminisce about the past." Mia frowned, her concern evident. "I just think it would be good for you to let go, Luna. Maybe just talk to him." "No, Mia," I cut in before she could finish her thought. "I don't want to talk to him, I have moved on." Yet even as I said it, the pang in my chest betrayed that lie. "I mean it, I am done with that part of my life." Mia crossed her arms, watching me intently. "If you say so, but you are holding on to this anger, it is not healthy." What did she know? I wanted nothing more than to burst those carefully erected walls around me to let the anger fuel me. I'm not angry, I said too quickly, but I could feel my chest tightening. Fine, just promise me you won't yell if he comes near you, she said, clearly not convinced. I could almost see her analytical mind churning over the situation, calculating the possible outcomes. I forced a smile, even as I felt my resolve tightening into something like a noose. I promise, I will be the picture of calm. With a hesitant look, she nodded and continued toward the Ferris wheel, her lightheartedness restored, leaving me alone with my thoughts and that weight in my chest. As we waited in line, I kept my head angled slightly away from Mark, who was now sitting on a bench with his friends, the laughter fading in and out like static interference. It was like one of those picturesque moments captured in a painting, sunset streaking the sky, laughter and celebration all around, but the colors were muted to me. The fair might have been a place of joy for everyone else, but for me, it only served as a reminder of my past struggles and the anger that kept me awake at night. Inside my mind, memories spiraled out of control. I relived the moment when Mark had betrayed my trust, the moment when I realized my supposed friends had been talking behind my back, sharing my deepest secrets, turning them into fodder for their relentless gossip. It was as if a pit had opened up beneath me, and I had fallen into a shadowy abyss, unable to climb out. No one else could possibly understand the depth of pain that betrayal had caused. I felt foolish for thinking I could trust him, that he cared. But trust had been a luxury I could hardly afford. Mia nudged my side, breaking me from my reverie, and although I wanted to scowl, I managed a half smile. It's our turn. Let's go, we boarded the Ferris wheel, the metal creaking as it began to ascend to the sky. The seat swung gently, and I gripped the bar tightly, making my palms sweaty. The higher we climbed, the more I felt that familiar spark of strength. At that moment, staring down at the glowing fairgrounds below, I realized I could finally take control of my own story. Look at that view, Mia exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. You can see the whole town, but the view only reminded me of my surroundings, of everything I wanted to change. I needed to act tonight to turn my pain into something that could no longer be ignored. I glanced down at Mark again, my heart racing and my mind churning with the plans I had forged in darkness. Luna, Mia pulled my attention back to her. Are you all right? You are being so quiet again. Yeah, I'm fine, I repeated, forcing the words out. But I could feel the pulse of adrenaline coursing through me, intensifying with each rotation of the wheel, the chaos of the fair below silhouetting my focus. Just thinking about opportunities, Mia smiled brightly, her enthusiasm undeterred by my earlier moods. I love that. Opportunities always lead to something amazing. Something amazing, I mused aloud, the two words rolling off my tongue like a promise I intended to fulfill. The truth was I had been waiting for an opportunity to avenge myself and reclaim my narrative from those who had tried to steal it. Unbeknownst to Mia, I had set everything in motion, baiting them, waiting for the right moment to strike. And as the Ferris wheel reached its apex, I made myself a vow. Tonight would be the night that changed everything. With a calmness that felt all too unnatural, I smiled, letting the burning embers of my plans simmer just below the surface, ready to ignite like a match against dry wood. The wheel began its descent, and with it, I felt a timepiece ticking down toward the climax of a well-planned revenge. I could hear the laughter and the fair music once more, but instead of filling me with dread, it thrummed through my veins with a palpable energy. I finally felt alive, driven, prepared to claim the space I had wrestled back from the abyss. Next stop, adventure. I grinned, a wicked spark igniting behind my eyes as the air filled with the sound of carnival delights below. Nothing would hold me back now. Luna sat on the edge of her bed, the early morning light pouring through the thin curtains and casting stripes on the hardwood floor. The air smelled faintly of dust and lavender from the little sachets she kept in her dresser. I could almost lose myself in the mundane comfort of it. But this was not a day for comfort, it was a day for action. I had a mission, and the heaviness in my chest told me I was going to need to steel myself for what lay ahead. Ever since Jessica betrayed me, I had felt this itch to reclaim my power, to confront what she had taken from me, and to show her that I was no longer the weak, naive girl she could manipulate. I glanced at the small mirror above my dresser, examining my reflection. Dark brown hair fell messily over my shoulders, and my green eyes met my own gaze with resolve. That girl staring back at me wasn't going to crumble under the weight of betrayal anymore. No, I would rise to meet it head-on, sharp and determined. Today was the day I would start setting things in motion, and I needed my plan to be solid as steel. I grabbed my journal from the bedside table, its pages filled with frenzied thoughts of revenge and strategies that had been building for weeks like a pot of water waiting to boil. I flipped to the latest entry, scribbled hastily, detailing my ideas and thoughts. Step 1, I wrote, gain inside knowledge about Jessica. Simple enough, yet already so complicated in my mind. Hey Luna, my best friend Mia, burst through the door without knocking, her long blonde hair bouncing with every enthusiastic step. You ready for the day? I can feel good things coming. I sighed and put on a semblance of a smile. Yeah, totally ready, I lied. Awesome, I was thinking we could catch breakfast, just the two of us. Her eyes were bright, and I knew she could sense my hesitation. That sounds great, but I actually have some things to take care of today. Oh, you do? Like what? You know I can be your partner in crime if you need one. I wanted to confide in Mia to let her know how lost I felt, but the weight of my plan felt too heavy to share. No, I just have stuff to figure out. All right, but you know I am here for you, right? She wrapped her arms around me and for a moment the heaviness slipped away. You can tell me anything. I forced my expression to be cheerful. Thanks, really, I appreciate it, I murmured, squeezing her back to reassure her. But a knot twisted in my stomach as I felt the fabric of our friendship pulling taut, like a string pulled too tight on a guitar. Okay, so you want to meet later? Mia asked, pulling away and grabbing her phone to check the time. We can go to that new cafe downtown. I hear their pastries are to die for. Sure, sounds good, I agreed, my voice almost cracking. I felt guilty, but also relieved. I needed this time to focus on my plan. Let me call you later, okay? Okay, she said, a hint of doubt creeping into her tone. Just remember, whatever you need, I'm here. With that, she left, and I was alone once more, armed only with a plan and the bile of bitterness rising in my throat. I took a deep breath, and I could almost taste the bitterness of revenge itself. I had to see Jessica. I had to find a way to know her secrets, to catch her off guard. Maybe I could lure her into a false sense of security. As the morning dragged on, I found myself wandering the silver-lined hallways of Silver Creek High School, the familiar sounds of chatter and laughter creating a contrast to my bubbling resentment. My thoughts were a storm of calculation and fury. I needed to find a way into Jessica's life, to know her maneuvers like I would the back of my hand. Hey Luna, wait up, a voice called from behind me. I turned, seeing Eric, one of the more popular guys at school, jogging my way. He was tall, with dark hair glints that shone under the fluorescent lights. But instead of inviting warmth, I felt tension tightening in my stomach. Eric and Jessica were best friends, and that made him a dangerous variable in my plan. What's up, Eric? I said, forcing a smile while struggling to keep my expression neutral. Not much, just trying to catch you before class. So you coming to the game Friday? Maybe, I replied, my mind racing with unraveling thoughts. A game, a stage, a place where secrets came out under the bleachers, where whispers danced in the shadows. I guess I'll see how I feel. Come on, it won't be the same without you. I'll get Jessica to come too, you two should hang out. There it was again, the slippery connection between the two of them. I kept my expression still, my mind whirling with possibilities. Yeah, right, I don't think that would work so well. Why not? Eric frowned, like he had just bitten into something sour. You two were best friends not too long ago. I mean, it's kind of awkward seeing you guys avoid each other. People grow apart, you know, I said, keeping my voice level while my mind raced with how to use that awkwardness to my advantage. I'm busy with other things. He nodded slowly, then shrugged. Well, what do you think about having dinner or something, just you and me? I think you're really cool, Luna. I forced a laugh, feeling frayed around the edges as I tried to perceive his intentions. Was this a play to get closer to Jessica, or had interest sparked other than friendship? I don't know, Eric, I am working on school stuff and planning things. I promise I won't take your time, just a couple of hours to unwind. Let me think about it, I replied, my voice betraying uncertainty. I have a lot going on, but I'll let you know. He watched me for a moment, like a hawk weighing its prey. Cool. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Just so you know, Jessica isn't as great as everyone thinks. I mean, she can be a bit much sometimes. In that moment, his words became a match thrown onto the tinder of my resentment. What do you mean? I asked, my heart racing with anticipation. He glanced around, lowered his voice again. Well, she can be kind of fake, you know, always trying to be the center of attention, and if you don't play her game, she'll turn on you. The validation sent a surge of adrenaline through me. You think that? Definitely, I've seen it with other friends, she can really twist things around to suit her. Interesting, I said, letting his words sink in like rocks dropping into a lake, creating ripples that spread into my thoughts. So what's the plan then? He looked puzzled, as if trying to figure out my angle, but I could see intrigue flickering in his deep-set eyes. Plan, huh? Just keep your distance from her and you'll be fine, he said casually, shrugging it off. But that was not the plan I had in mind. The battle lines were being drawn, and I was feeling more emboldened by the second. I might just take your advice on that, I replied, grinning because I knew I could turn that little insight into a weapon against Jessica. Just think about my offer, all right, he said, backing away slowly but still watching. Those hawkish eyes stayed on me longer than I expected. Sure, I'll think about it, I called after him, my voice more muted as the buzzing crowd around me pulled him away. With the hall finally clear, I leaned against the lockers, breathing deeply, the adrenaline fading but the determination solidifying in my chest. I needed to find allies and strategies to bait Jessica. I had moments of doubt that clouded my mind, but I pushed them away. This was my moment. I pulled out my phone, my fingers shaking as I scrolled to Jessica's number. I hesitated before forcing an angry breath out. No, I shouldn't show any weakness, not yet. Instead, I decided to dig deeper, finding the details I could use against her. Mia had mentioned a party coming up, and Jessica would definitely be there. This could turn out to be a perfect opportunity to enact my plan. I let that thought settle in my mind. I could confront her there, stirring the drama in front of all our classmates, catching her by surprise with my newfound resolve. As I dipped into my thoughts, the bell rang, jolting me from my plotting. Standing back straightened, I slipped my phone into my pocket and prepared to head toward the classroom. I was conscious of the unfamiliar strength swelling in my chest, a fire threatening to escape. Game on, Jessica, I whispered under my breath as I turned to face the crowded halls once again. Today was just round one of my transformation, and I was going to show her that the girl she once knew was gone for good. Humor me? I thought gleefully, as I joined the throngs of students, allowing the chaos of the school to wash over me like a sneering wave. I stood on the edge of Silver Creek Park, my heart racing as I watched the sun dip below the horizon, spilling vibrant hues of orange and purple across the sky. The air was thick with the scent of summer flowers and freshly cut grass, but all I could focus on was the chill creeping up my spine. It had been 2 days since the incident at school, and I could still hear the mocking laughter echoing in my ears, feel the sting of betrayal tightening around my chest. Every moment of that day had played over and over in my mind, a relentless loop that left me feeling more and more powerless. You should have known better than to trust him, I whispered to myself, angry tears threatening to spill down my cheeks. My breaths came in sharp bursts as that familiar fire of revenge clawed at my insides, urging me to take action. I knew precisely what I wanted to do. I turned away from the park, my eyes narrowing as I headed toward the old, dilapidated barn on the outskirts of town. It was a place filled with memories, both good and bad, but right now, it felt like the perfect battleground for my plans. Images of Noah flashed through my mind, his disarming smile, the way he had pulled me close at the last dance, whispering sweet nothings in my ear. I had trusted him, believed his promises, and now he was part of the group that had laughed at me after I had fallen down the stairs. The ache in my chest tightened. Do you think he cares? I said aloud, almost hoping someone would answer me. Trust was a fragile thing, and I had broken it by trusting the wrong person. My fists clenched at my side, and I could feel the determination surge through my veins as I pushed open the creaking barn door. The stale smell of hay and wood filled my nostrils, and dust motes danced in the fading light as I stepped inside. The barn had served as a refuge for me at one point, filled with dreams of summer adventures and childhood laughter, but now it felt like a fortress for my revenge. I kicked a stray piece of hay with my toe, imagining it was Noah's face, and I let out a small, frustrated scream. I can't let this go, I muttered, pacing around the dusty interior. Not after everything. My voice echoed off the walls, mingling with the sounds of nature outside. I glanced around, my eyes landing on an old toolbox that had seen better days. I walked over and knelt down, brushing my fingers over the rusted surfaces. Inside was a collection of forgotten tools, covered in years of neglect, but one item caught my eye, a sturdy hammer. The weight of it felt reassuring in my hand, and I knew it would serve as a symbol of my determination. They think they can get away with humiliating me, I told the air, a fire igniting within me. I am going to show them. With the hammer as my instrument, I began mapping out my plans. I told myself each detail again, the thrill of payback coursing through me like electricity. I'm going to ruin Noah's perfect world. Every laugh he shared with his friends, every moment he thought he was untouchable, it would all come crashing down. The sound of footsteps suddenly broke through my thoughts. I whirled around, and my heart raced as I spotted my best friend Jenna, stepping hesitantly into the barn. Luna, she called out softly, her voice laced with concern. I was looking for you. The warmth I usually felt when I saw her flickered as I remembered how much she had tried to talk me down after the incident. You need to let it go, she had said, and now there she stood, looking worried and trying to help me again. I forced a smile, though the corners of my mouth barely moved. What are you doing here, Jen? I was worried about you. She stepped further inside, her eyes scanning the barren space before landing on the hammer I had been holding. What's going on? You're not really going to use that, are you? I laughed, but it came out harsher than I intended. You know what they did to me, Jenna. I can't just sit back and pretend it didn't happen. She took a cautious step closer, concern etched on her face. I know, but you have to be careful, it's not worth it. Not worth it, I echoed, incredulous. They made me look like a fool in front of everyone. I had my whole life planned out, and they ruined it in an instant. They think it's just going to go away, they think I'm just going to forgive and forget. Jenna shook her head, her expression softening as she granted me a few more steps into the storm of my emotions. What do you mean by they? It was Noah. He's the one who embarrassed you in front of everyone, Luna. You can't lump all his friends into this. Oh, please. I rolled my eyes, crossing my arms over my chest defiantly. They stood by and laughed. They all deserve to feel this. But revenge isn't going to fix it. Her voice was calm yet firm, and it frustrated me even more. You know that, right? What's your plan? Make their lives miserable. That's not who you are. I wanted to scream, to unleash the whirlwind of anger brewing in my chest, but instead I took a steadying breath. I was hurt, Jenna. It's not just about revenge, it's about reclaiming my power. Reclaiming doesn't mean hurting others, Luna. You're better than that. Her words clawed at my insides, tearing at the carefully crafted narrative I had built around my actions. I wasn't a villain, I was a victim, right? Wasn't I? My eyes darted to the ground, unwilling to meet her gaze as confusion clouded my thoughts. I was better than this, but the hurt made me feel weak, and weakness opened me up to being hurt again. You don't understand, I finally said, trying to keep my voice steady. You weren't there, you didn't see their faces when I tripped. You didn't hear their laughter echoing in my ears. You're right, I didn't see it, but I also don't think you should let one moment define you. The passion in her voice rang out like a bell. I felt a pang of guilt at how much I had let my anger cloud my judgment. Maybe revenge wasn't going to fill the void of humiliation I felt. Maybe there was another way. You're my best friend. I need you to support me in this. The world isn't fair, and they need to know that I won't be trampled on. My voice wavered, betraying the conflict within. But does that mean you need to drag everyone down with you? Jenna stepped closer, her eyes filled with an earnest light that hinted at her concern. You're better than that. You can rise above it, you always have. You don't get it, I snapped, frustration boiling over. There is no above it when I am constantly reminded of how badly I fell in front of everyone, how they laughed and mocked me as if I was nothing. Then rise up, but not by hurting anyone else. Show them your strength in a different way. Her insistence softened the edges of my fury, and for a moment I hesitated. How do I even do that? I asked, barely above a whisper. You have so much talent, Luna. You can sing, you can dance, you can write. Use your words, your creativity to show them how strong you are. If they want to laugh, let them laugh. Prove them wrong, not by destruction, but by building something beautiful. I felt my defenses crumbling, one brick at a time, as I chewed on her words. Could I really channel my anger into something positive? And what happens in the meantime? What if they keep pushing me back down? I countered, still feeling a tug toward retribution. You take it one day at a time. Rise above, and with every day, show them that you are not what they say you are. Jenna's voice was steady, and I felt the warmth of her support wrapping around me like a safety net. I was still fuming inside, but there was a flicker of hope in her words. Maybe revenge was not where I needed to put my energy. Deep down, maybe I had known that all along but was too angry to accept it. Maybe I can think of a better plan, I murmured, the hammer feeling heavier in my hand. With a deep breath, I slowly placed it back into the toolbox. The sound echoed in the silence between us, signaling a shift in what I wanted. Jenna's expression brightened, and for once I could see a glimmer of pride sitting beneath her worry. That's the spirit, you don't have to become what they are. We stood in the barn for a few moments, and I could almost hear the dust settling around us, with the weight of new possibilities hanging in the air. I knew change wouldn't happen overnight, but some part of me felt stretched, ready, waiting for the moment to break free from the hurt that had anchored me for too long. Thanks, Jenna, I said earnestly, my voice softening. I needed to hear that. Just promise me one thing, she replied, her blue eyes searching mine intently. Promise that you will find a way to channel this into something good, not just for yourself, but for all of us. I promise, I whispered, the sincerity of my words settling like a blanket around my heart. We left the barn together, stepping back into the warmth of the summer air, leaving behind echoes of anger for a fleeting moment. The stars began to twinkle overhead, softly illuminating the darkness, and I realized that while revenge had enticed me, the prospect of elevating myself through strength and creativity was far more powerful. I had a journey ahead, one filled with challenges, twinges of doubt, and stinging pain, but I was willing to embrace it. I was reborn, not as a vengeful spirit, but as a beacon of resilience. As we walked away hand in hand, a soft breeze rustled the leaves, whispering secrets of what could be, a reminder that even in the darkest of places, light always has a way of breaking through. The air was thick with anticipation as I stood outside the old Greystone Theater, the place where everything had unraveled. The marquee flickered dimly above me, casting a ghostly glow on the cracked pavement. I could almost hear the echoes of laughter that had once filled this space, a bittersweet memory buried beneath the weight of revenge that now consumed me. After everything that had happened, I had come to realize that bouncing back was not enough. I needed the satisfaction of my enemies feeling the heat of the fire they had set inside me. My heart raced, matching the beat of the old, faded music that drifted from the shadows of the alley beside the theater. "What are you waiting for, Luna?" I whispered to myself, feeling the tautness in my chest. "This is it, this is your moment." A gust of wind swept through the alley, sending a shiver down my spine. I glanced nervously around, half expecting Blake or one of his thugs to show up, taunting me, reminding me of the darkness they had brought into my life. I had spent months plotting this day, honing my plan like a blade edged for precision. Each move needed to be calculated, each moment required careful execution. There was no room for error. I had to be both the hunter and the hunted. As I stepped toward the entrance, the weight of my resolve steadied my hand, and I adjusted the small pack slung across my shoulder, the contents securely hidden inside. "Luna," a voice pulled me from my thoughts, and I turned to see Matt, my friend and confidant with tousled blonde hair and a nervous grin. His presence provided a strange comfort amid the chaos brewing inside me. "You okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern, the dim light framing his face in shadows. "Yeah, I'm good," I said, though my voice wavered slightly. "Just trying to get my head in the game." He crossed his arms, leaning back against the wall. "You don't have to do this alone, you know. I can go in with you." I shook my head, a determined smile creeping onto my lips, a mask that hid my fears. "This is something I have to do by myself." My thoughts spiraled back to what had happened at the party, the betrayal that had felt like a dagger to my heart. "I need to show Blake and his crew what real strength looks like. I've never been more ready." Matt sighed, his expression a mixture of admiration and worry. "Just be careful, remember what happened last time. They're not just going to let you waltz in and do what you want." "I know," I replied, the chill of his words threading doubt through my confidence. "But I need him to see the consequences of his actions. This is more than just revenge, it's about taking back control." "All right," he said softly, pushing himself off the wall. "Just call if you need anything, I'm right here." He stepped back into the shadows, leaving me standing alone. The silence of the night wrapped around me like a heavy blanket, and I took a steadying breath, brushing my palms against my jeans. With a final glance toward the moonlit sky, I forced myself forward, pushing open the heavy theater door. It creaked ominously on its hinges, echoing through the dusty, forgotten space. The air inside felt stale, filled with memories of long-lost dreams and hurt. I could see the faint outline of the main stage, the red velvet curtain hanging askew, as if it too felt the weight of defeat. My heart thumped louder in this cavernous silence, a drumbeat readying me for the battle that lay ahead. "Luna." Voice called from the back, a sneer hidden beneath the bravado. It was Blake, leaning back in his chair with his feet propped on the table beside him. He wore that same arrogant smirk that had dimmed my self-worth for so long, and the sight of him ignited a flare of anger within me. "You finally decided to show up," he said, amusement lacing his tone. "I was beginning to think you were too scared to face me." "I'm not scared of you," I shot back, my voice steady despite the emotions swirling within me. "I came here to settle things. You think you can just ruin someone's life and get away with it?" His laughter bounced off the walls, echoing like a twisted cheer. "You think I ruined your life? Honey, your life was already a mess before I came along. I just helped it along a little." Fury bubbled up inside me, but I clamped down on it. I had to remember my purpose, my plan. "You know, every action has a consequence, Blake. You've stirred the pot, and now it's boiling over." He raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet dismissive. "Is that supposed to threaten me, because it sounds more like a cliché?" "Is it?" I stepped closer, grip tightening around the edges of the bag at my side. Why don't you step outside your little bubble and look at what you've done? People are still talking about how you ruined that party, how you thought you could toy with my life, my relationships. You think I'm going to just forget? His expression twisted into annoyance, eyes narrowing. You're exaggerating. It was just a party, step up. You should take things with a grain of salt. I smiled at his dismissal, but beneath it rolled the satisfaction of my plans unfolding. You see, Blake, that's where you're wrong. It wasn't just a party to you, but it was a turning point for me. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small device. This is a camera, and everything you said, everything you did, I recorded it all. He tilted his head, faux confusion crossing his features like a mask. What's your point? You think a few videos will bring me down? He leaned forward, adrenaline filling the air between us. I took a steadying breath, adrenaline coursing through my veins. You're going to wish you never crossed me. The videos make their rounds, and everyone gets to see you for what you are, the arrogant bully who thinks he can get away with ruining someone's life. People deserve to know. For the first time, I saw something shift in his expression, a flicker of uncertainty that vanished as quickly as it appeared. You wouldn't dare, I grinned, pushing my hair back behind my ear. Try me, you like to think you're invincible, but I know your secrets. I know the people who put pressure on you. You don't know who you're messing with. What are you talking about? His bravado cracked, revealing a hint of fear. You're bluffing. I locked eyes with him, heart racing, feeling the power shift as I took a step closer. You may think you hold all the cards, but what happens when I expose your lies? When your friends turn on you and your reputation crumbles. You don't really believe you can destroy me with a few petty recordings, he scoffed, though I saw the tension in his shoulders. Oh, I do believe it. All it takes is one click of a button and your whole world changes. You think you're untouchable, but I'm about to show you just how vulnerable you truly are. I turned the camera toward him, the lens glinting menacingly in the dim light. His bravado wavered, a grimace twisting his face. You wouldn't do that, you're just a girl playing games. I could hear it in his voice, the fear creeping in from the corners of his bravado. There was something almost satisfying in watching his confidence drain away, piece by piece, like a sandcastle being washed away by the tide. You're right, I'm a girl, but I'm not just playing games. I'm here to make a statement. That's a pretty big statement for a nobody, he seethed, infuriated yet desperate, trying to regain control. You don't realize what you're getting into. You're messing with people who can ruin you. I stepped back, my grin growing. We'll see who gets ruined first. The tension in the air crackled like electricity, every heartbeat echoing my boldness as I stood toe-to-toe with the one who thought he could crush me. Just then, the door creaked behind me and several of Blake's friends shuffled in. They wore amused expressions, clearly ready for a show. What's going on here, Blake? You're looking a little tense, one of them chuckled, clearly trying to stir the pot. Shut up, Ethan, Blake snapped, never breaking eye contact with me. That's cute, Blake. Seriously, who does she think she is? Ethan sneered, inching closer, surveying the electric tension. You gonna back down or what? I thought you were tough. I guess some people can't handle when the tables turn. I shot back, my heart racing in my chest. Suddenly, it felt like the world was shifting. A storm was brewing, and I was right at the center. Blake's eyes burned with a mix of fury and fear, scanning the faces around him, looking for validation, looking for a way out. You think people care about you, about some dumb videos, just let it go, Luna. Let it go. You think I'm just going to walk out of here? You think the way you treated me is something I can forget? I could barely keep my voice steady, the bittersweet satisfaction mounting within me like a wave threatening to break. Chaos erupted in a flurry of voices, laughter blending with Blake's rising frustration. No one cares, Luna, one of his friends laughed, and in that moment of chaos, I felt emboldened. I took a breath and plunged deeper into the moment, my voice rising above theirs. You all think this is a joke, but what you don't see is how it all crumbles. I didn't come here to let you laugh at me, I came to show you just how fragile your power is. Blake's lips curled in a snarl, finally giving me the angry reaction I had wanted. You think you're tough, huh? You think this is how you gain respect? The sound of his voice, cold and laced with arrogance, only fueled my resolve. No, Blake, I'm showing you how to lose it. I stepped forward again, feeling the eyes of the others on me, my heartbeat matching the fervor blooming in my chest. You have no idea what I'm capable of. This isn't just about me anymore, this is about everyone you've bullied, it's about taking you down. For a fleeting second, I thought I saw recognition in his gaze, a hint of doubt shadowing his confidence. The laughter around us faded, leaving an uncomfortable silence in its wake. Are you really prepared to risk everything for this? You think this stops with a stupid video? Maybe it does, and maybe it doesn't, I answered, keeping my chin up, refusing to back down now that I had come this far. But this is just the beginning. I am not the girl you can shove aside any longer. The crowd had grown still, tension shifting like a pendulum swinging back and forth. Blake's face was a mask of anger while I stood firm, refusing to waver. Then with a deceptive calm, Blake leaned back in his chair and smirked, trying to regain control of the situation. Then if you want to play games, let's see how you handle the consequences. And just like that, a spark ignited within me. I felt powerful and reckless, standing before the embodiment of my childhood nightmares, ready to take the final plunge in this twisted game. I needed him to feel the flames of fire he had lit within me. All right, Blake. Bring it on, I challenged, adrenaline thrumming through my veins. But remember, when the smoke clears, it's going to be you who ends up being burned. With that, I turned and walked out of the theater, leaving behind the shadows of my past while stepping forward into the uncertainty of my future. The tension hung in the air like the empty echoes of the flickering lights behind me, but I felt liberated. I had unleashed a storm, one that would reverberate through Silver Creek, leaving nothing unchanged in its wake. My fire had been lit, and I was ready to watch it blaze. The dawn broke over Silver Creek, painting the sky in brilliant hues of orange and pink, and as I stood on the porch of what was once my sanctuary, the weight of the recent months precariously balanced in the air like a tightrope that threatened to snap. I didn't know how long I had been waiting for this moment, the moment of reckoning. The icy fingers of fear and anticipation gripped my heart as I glanced at the old oak tree in the front yard, its leaves rustling softly, whispering secrets of the past. I had transferred those secrets into a plan, meticulously thought out, each detail arranged with care and precision. My breath caught in my throat as I heard the familiar sound of tires crunching on gravel. I felt the blood rush from my head to my feet. Today was the day I would confront my betrayer, the man who had shattered not just my trust but my entire world. Was I ready? As the engine killed and the sound of footsteps echoed across the porch, I squared my shoulders, a surge of empowerment filling me. I was no longer the scared girl hiding behind her tears. I was the storm. My heart raced as the door creaked open, revealing Jason standing there, his presence an unwelcome shadow draped across my doorstep. His hair was damp, likely from the morning dew, and his carefree smile faltered when he saw the look in my eyes. "Luna, save it, Jason," I interrupted, the words sharp as shards of glass. "I don't want to hear your excuses." The air was thick with tension, and I could see it reflected in his brow, a flicker of concern that made my stomach twist. "Please let me explain," he pleaded, his voice softer, almost panicked as he took a hesitant step forward. "I know you are angry, but angry. That's putting it lightly." I crossed my arms tightly against my chest like a fragile shield, fighting to keep the swell of emotions at bay. "You threw me away like I was nothing." The hurt in my voice felt like a raw wound opening up again, forcing the memories out into the open. "I didn't mean to hurt you. You have to understand." He looked desperate. The boy I once thought was my best friend, transformed into an apparition of guilt clutching at vulnerability. I searched his face for any trace of sincerity. Deep down, a small part of me wanted to believe him. The laughter we shared, the dreams we had once built together, crashed against the cold reality of betrayal. "Understand, you didn't just betray me, you betrayed everything we had." "Luna, no, you don't get to start that again." My hands clenched into fists at my sides, trembling with the effort of holding back. "You went behind my back. You and my brother like the world was your playground, and I was just someone to laugh at." I watched as his expression shifted, a tinge of guilt flashing through his deep green eyes. "Please don't bring him into this." "Why not?" I scoffed, my heart pounding like a war drum. "He's the reason this whole mess happened. He's the one who thought it would be funny to mess with my life." "We were just trying to, I thought it would be a joke," he fumbled, his voice cracking slightly. "I didn't think you would take it so seriously." "So you didn't think," I took a step closer, not backing down. "What did you think when you were creeping around with my own brother? Was it worth it?" The bitterness rolled off my tongue, acrid and sharp, and I could see the cracks in his facade begin to widen as guilt turned to defensiveness. "You make it sound worse than it was," he countered, but I could hear his voice trembling. "Worse. You think I wanted to light all my dreams on fire just to see how far they would burn? You think it didn't break me to watch you both laugh at me?" I let the hurt pour out of me like molten lava, fierce and unstoppable. There was silence for a moment, the morning air wrapping around us, chilling despite the sun's warmth threatening to break through the clouds. Jason's shoulders sagged, and the fight faded from his expression. He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated, and I could see that he was beginning to realize the depth of what he had lost. "Luna, I'm sorry." His voice was raw, filled with a sincerity that I had not expected. "I messed up. I should have told you the truth. I never wanted to see you hurt." No, you only wanted to have fun at my expense, I shot back. You wanted the thrill of playing with my heart. You and my brother both, it was never about me. His eyes darkened and the vulnerability vanished, replaced with simmering anger. That's not fair. I'm here, aren't I? I came back to face you, to tell you I was wrong, to apologize. What do you want from me? Do you think a simple apology will erase what you did? What it felt like to realize that the people I trusted most were the ones pulling the knife from behind? I don't expect you to just forgive me. I just wanted you to know I'm not the same person I was. His voice dropped, and I felt the heaviness of his confession settle between us. I can't stand the thought of losing you. Maybe you should have thought about that before you shoved the knife into my back, I shot back, my heart pounding dangerously in my chest. There was a rawness to his plea that caught me off guard. I had come to hate him, and yet here he was, pleading for my forgiveness, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the boy I once adored beneath the calloused shield he had built. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this right, he said, taking another step forward, his eyes locking onto mine. Whatever you need, I will prove to you that I can change, just please do not give up on me. Change does not happen overnight. You think an apology will fix all of this? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart, grappling with the emotions that clawed at me: love, anger, betrayal. You have no idea what kind of damage you have done. I know, he murmured, his voice thick with regret. But I am asking for a chance to show you. A chance to rebuild. I am sorry deeper than you think. That chance doesn't come freely. As the words left my mouth, I felt a flicker of hope ignite inside me, battling against the storm raging in my heart. I wondered if it was possible for forgiveness to coexist with pain, for trust to blossom from the shadows of destruction. What do you want me to do? He asked, raising his hands in a gesture of sincerity, of hope, though I saw vulnerability lurking at the edges of his steadfast demeanor. Prove it, not with words but with actions. I want you to do something that shows me you are not just back to play the victim. Whatever, he said, determination etched across his features. Tell me. Leave Silver Creek, I said, the words sticking in my throat like thorns. A wave of disbelief washed over his face. I could feel the surprise hanging in the silence between us, a charged moment that twisted painfully in my gut. I don't want to see you every day. I need you to understand what you did. I need space. I need to heal. He blinked as if trying to process what I had just said. You really want me to leave? Yes, my voice was firm, unwavering. If you really want to change, you need to confront what you have done. Leave this place and figure it out without me stinging in the back of your mind. Do this for me. He started, but there was nothing he could say. Jason, trust me, I need this. I want to find a way to forgive you, but I have to do it without your presence haunting me at every corner. Okay, he finally said, his expression crumbling slightly as if my words had landed a physical blow. There was a moment of silence, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, an echo of uncertainty. Good, I replied, forcing my emotions under wraps. You have until the end of the month. After that, we can reevaluate how to go from here. Luna, no, Jason. My voice cut through the air like a knife, solid, unwavering. Consider this your time to figure out who you want to be. If you come back, you better be ready for a different Luna. The girl standing before you has changed too, and she is no longer the girl you can take for granted. As I spoke, I felt clarity wash over me, a certainty that I had been searching for despite the pain and the intricate web of regret that we had woven. I was no longer the same. I was stronger now, forged in the fire of betrayal. Okay, he whispered, barely audible, before turning his back on me, his shoulders hunched as he walked away. The crunch of gravel under his feet felt like a final farewell, a stinging reminder of the years that had been lost. The air felt heavy and still. I watched his silhouette grow smaller in the distance, and I felt something inside me shift, like the ground settling after a storm. As Jason disappeared from view, I took a few steps back into the house, unsure of what came next but knowing one thing for certain. I was ready to step into my own light. No longer would I be defined by the shadows of betrayal, but rather, I would carve my path forward, drawing strength from the ashes of my past. I could feel the dawn behind me, bright and promising, and with a steadying breath, I knew this was the beginning of something beautiful, something that had been waiting to bloom inside me all along. The dawn of change. It was finally here.